1 in 100 wants what I need. Great. Now it's just math. 3 people a day times 30 days in a month is 90 people. You probably have a client at the end of the month.
Well, hello and welcome back to the Amanda Kaufman Show. We are continuing our series on the coaches that don't suck. And I had to find room on Mark's dance card because he is definitely a coach that doesn't suck. Mark Reynolds, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks, Amanda. I'm loving it. I can't wait. I'm so glad that we finally were able to put this together. So.
Yes.
Let's rock and roll. Let's rock and roll. Well, for the benefit
of dear listener, would you just take 30 seconds and catch us up on what you're working on these days and what your background is?
Yeah. So I'm a life coach. I share certified high performance with you, Amanda, and I run in a lot of the same circles, and I am a proud Texan and barbecue aficionado. And primarily in my business, I'm coaching one-on-one clients for this group. I also am the owner and founder of Success Auditors, which is a group community that I'm launching 2025 that's exclusively for internal auditors and financials that's going to help them meet their certified CPEs, continuing professional education credits in the upcoming year, while also having a growth curriculum. So that's kind of like what's happening on the background. So that's a little sneak peek into my world. But ideally, for most people, I'm creating this thing. We're heading into the holidays, but I've been working on this idea of what would life be like if every day was going to bed, waking up like it would be Christmas morning. So that's how I want life. Yeah.
That's
so
good.
Yeah, today it's just about trying to get people to start scheduling and thinking about their lives, especially around their calendars, as something they would like to have in versus something that's happening to them. And I don't understand what happened where we gave up our dreams and our calendars became like these prisons instead of a wish list. So I'm helping my clients create days and weeks and months where something pops up in your calendar and you're like, holy crap, I can't believe that's on my calendar. Just like the gift under the Christmas tree. You asked Santa and it delivered. So that's what we're doing in my coaching practice. That's what I'm trying to help folks do. And I thought, for us, Amanda, when we talked, we just thought hey, how do you make these things happen? How do coaches make their dreams come true? How do you get your wish list? How does Christmas sound wonderful? Yeah. So that's me.
It's so good. It's so good. And, Mark, I've loved, full disclosure, dear listener, Mark and I have worked together. But I think one of the things that I really appreciate about you, Mark, is that you have so much joy and you have so much clarity about how your past role was not necessarily a culture of activating joy. And I'm just so delighted to hear that you're continuing to serve that community with your new community that you're releasing in 2025. That is amazing. That's so cool. So Mark, I am really curious, when we sat down to chat, you started talking right away about some observations you've seen in our marketing. You've been in our community for a few years now. Yeah, a few years now. And you've been to some of the live events. Yes. So one of the things we were actually talking about was the power of iteration, because you've seen me iterate from, Amanda Kaufman coach, the crush method to the coaches plaza. You saw me, grow the group that is now called the Coaches That Don't Suck, but it's iterated a few times. So I'm curious, what role has iteration played in your business?
Yeah, as we alluded to, you and I talk about this all the time. Reps are the key. Mm-hmm. If I remember right, you had an engineering background in school.
Yeah, chemical engineering.
Yeah. So I was a physics major and a psych major. And one of the things that I love about discovering the universe is scientific experiment. I've loved it since a kid. And that's how I think business is. Right. And one of the things I said that I really respect about you, Amanda, and the people that come into your program and into your community is this idea of we don't know what the answer is. I treat everything like a business experiment. And I go hey, does this work? Let's test a variable, see if we get the result we want. And it's never me. Like so many coaches get hung up on like, if something doesn't go wrong, that's like, I'm wrong. You're not wrong. You just did a rep. You just ran an experiment. You got a null hypothesis to nerd out a little bit, right? So, somebody told me, I don't know who said it, but I just, to my core, believe it 100%. You either get the result that you want or the lesson.
It's so true. It's so true. And I think especially in our coaching space, I know something that definitely got into my head that I had to unlearn was this idea that like a coach is the business. A coach is the personal brand. And to like learn, no, you're the architect of that. And there are so many ways to approach that because a personal brand is really a personal connection in like the way that you connect with people. And there's lots of cool, amazing ways to connect with people. And what I was like running into is I had like body dysmorphia kind of things going on. I was like, I can't be 6 feet tall and blonde. I did try the blonde thing. I did do the blonde thing for a while, but like there were certain physiological things that I was like, gosh, I'm never going to be able to move that mountain is how I felt. And then I just felt stuck. And it wasn't until I got into that attitude of like, well, test it. Like, try this other way. Try this other way. Try this other way. Turns out there's a bunch of different ways to climb a mountain.
Yeah, I remember coming out of my coaching certification. And after certification, they did the entrepreneurial components. You had to make a decision like, hey, are you going to go work for somebody else or do you want to build your business? And I went the entrepreneurial track. And I remember the coach. She's 10 figures at the time, not 10 figures, 8-figure coach at the time. And she said, look, this business is very simple. It is offers minus no's equals client yeses. And so
good. I love that.
Yeah,
it's so
right.
true. Yeah.
And she's like, you think I'm successful because thousands of people log in on my Instagram or come to me. And she says, no, I'm successful because 295,000 people told me no this month to the offer I made. And so when you start to go through a lot of business is just math. It's just math, right? Nerd, right? Engineering, math is true. If you're not getting the results you want, it's not like yeses. We get caught up. Like I was so proud for so long I had 100% consult rate for get somebody on the phone,
right.
Close them, right? But then you go like, well, so what? What is 1 out of 1, 2 out of 2? Right? If you need a full practice, better figure out like 1 in 100 wants what I need. Great. Now it's just math. 3 people a day times 30 days in a month is 90 people. You probably have a client at the end of the month. Like people are so worried about them, but it's like, I use another analogy. It's like, I imagine my clients are lost at sea and I'm like the Coast Guard. Like I got to go find them. I'm just like, I got to go out there and get them. And I always imagine.
Oh my God, can you imagine if the Coast Guard was all like, well, if the ship doesn't run aground in this little area that's like super convenient for me, like it just happens to be in my backyard, then I'm not going to rescue them. Can you imagine?
No, but also like, can you imagine you're at sea and the Coast Guard pulls up and they're going to go, are you the right Coast Guard? Are you the right rescue ship? You could be a fisherman. Right? Like it could be a Dunkirk situation and they're gonna be like, no, are you certified to rescue me? No, hell no, I'm here. Like, do you want to go? Like, that's how coaches are.
Which other options would you like to take? Yeah.
Like, what? Like, you want to wait for the next fisherman? Like, clients don't care. So it's like, we think like they're going to come to us like Mecca, like come.
Oh my gosh. I was so guilty of that one. I was completely convinced that my website was going to be like the thing. And then I stayed up all night because I'm like, the website's too ugly because I didn't have any skills as a web developer. Hello. I didn't know anything about graphic design. I knew nothing about copy. And I'm like, why can't I just get this thing out of the box to look like that guy's, right? Like I was so stressed about it. And it turned out that my website played a very minor role in the whole thing, right? It's amazing what our minds can do to us. You know, you bring up such a great point about precision and certainty, you know, and I think like what I've noticed in the coaching space is there are people who are hyper attached to certainty. Like they have to know. It's kind of like your experience when you had the 100% close rate where it's like, I have to know in advance, this is probably going to close. right? Because if I don't know in advance that it's probably going to close, then I wasted my time, right? Is the narrative that we tell ourselves. So that's an example of like hyper precision and hyper certainty, or desire for certainty. The other thing that I see is on like the complete other side, where people are like, oh, it's all luck. It's completely random. And, you know, it's this ethereal thing that is completely out of your control. And my experience so far is I'm like, it's somewhere in the middle. It's somewhere in that middle zone, you know, where there's certainly a role of luck. You've probably you mentioned that you noticed the brand was changing. We're doing these podcasts now, which by the way are my joy. I just love getting to reconnect with you. Like, so cool. And like other people can watch. It's so voyeuristic. It's great. You know, so like, but when I look at some of the success in my business, and I've even had like $1 million go through a Facebook group, for example, there were elements of luck in that. There were for sure things that I did with precision to make that happen, but there was a huge amount of luck. So some of the luck was, I mean, this sounds terrible, but there was something that happened in the winter of 2020, and it drove a lot of people online who might not have been otherwise comfortable being online. And then there's changes in social media and the different platforms that I was like there and doing it like right then and ready for it, that someone else who didn't have quite the same skill level that I did to be able to take advantage of the opportunity wouldn't and couldn't have taken advantage of the opportunity. So, you know, what I've noticed in business is there's certainly like a role of luck where there's things that you can't predict, or it's way bigger than you, or there's like factors beyond your control. But I also think that there's a good amount of preparation and precision that you can create by continuing to work on your excellence. So I just like went off there, but you got me thinking about precision, you know, versus like magnitude, you know, magnitude of your impact.
Yeah. Well, I think a couple things just to kind of close your loop on there. One, I believe luck, but we're all lucky in some areas, right? Some people are like really pretty. Some people have like amazing hair. I don't have that, right? You know, like, come on, some people can dance. I'm not on TikTok. That's not my thing, right? So we all have our luck. But the one thing, Amanda, that I hope you don't take away is 2020, everyone saw the opportunity. I saw it. I didn't go online every day. I huddled in and waited. You didn't. You were like, hey, this is the skill. This is the opportunity. And you went for it. Right. And so a large portion is people creating their own luck. And you and I have kind of talked pre-call and some of our other areas too around this is about knowing who you are and seeing all the steps that led you up to that. And so one of the things I tell folks, I tell my son this all the time, he's just starting his career, is I look back on my career and I couldn't have planned it that way. Because I tell folks, I got almost nothing I ever asked for. I always got something better. And I didn't even know about it. I didn't know a mentor would show up that would create an opportunity for me. Like when I made my first $1 million, I didn't know that opportunity existed financially. I didn't grow up in that background. And then somebody shows up. So for coaches that sit there and try to plan everything before they get going on how they're going to get to the finish line, like it's not going to turn out that way. And you can tell that. I mean, you're farther up the road than I am too, right? And you go like, oh, but I've done this, what I've done. No, not when you started, not when you first thought about hanging out your shingle. You grow. And
1,000%.
As you...
I had no idea. Like, and I love biasing towards action, as you know. And
yes.
I learned so much being basically ignorance on fire. Like I was figuring out so many things as I did it. And, you know, that was actually a bit of a identity conflict, to be honest with you, because I did grow up in a very intellectualized kind of a household. And, you know, we gotta get the high score on our grades, you know, we got to do really well, you know, we got to know what's up intellectually. Like that's a big part of my family identity. And so for me to kind of embrace the entrepreneur who is perhaps a bit more of a risk taker, you know, was a really big change. I'm curious, like for you've had like quite a bit of progress over the past few years, developing your private practice, and now you're getting ready to do this group thing. And you kind of alluded that like there was a time where you weren't quite ready. Even as you saw opportunities, you were kind of letting them go by, but something obviously changed. I'm really curious what that was. What activated you? What switched the switch so that you were taking those clients on and you were starting to really seize that opportunity?
Super vulnerable. Yeah. So a couple of things have happened. So we talk about these dreams, right? So I had this 2020 vision I've shared with some folks that are closer to me. And I had this vision of, I was going to hit some milestones. I'd hit some financial milestones. My son was graduating. And so I had this idea of moving to Tuscany, and I had rented a villa, and I was just going to check out for a couple of years and write and pursue some other passions. I coach, but there's a part of me that's very much still the student, the professor. I'm very much into the why. I chose coaching over a PhD. So there's these two pieces of me, and I know you share that as well, like a deep interest in the art of coaching and the science behind why stuff works, as well as just the client delivery. And COVID kind of disrupted that. And so when you say like, oh, I saw this opportunity, my focus was like, I was holding on to this dream that I didn't want to let go, even though I knew the facts were saying it was it was unrealistic. Like I wasn't moving to Italy in May when COVID hit in Italy in March. But
yeah,
I was like, oh.
Sometimes it just happens like that. It's kind of like you were saying earlier. I've asked for so many things and it didn't work out, but then I wound up with something else.
Yeah. And then, there's other areas that you talk to around this. There's like some weird dynamics. I know like you shared, like, I know you grew up in a male dominated industry. One of the things that's different about me is I'm a man that's grown up working for women my whole career. I worked in women-started foundations, right? So there, a lot of times, it's really strange for me, but it's also a superpower that I have in coaching like my executive women. It's because I was the one man in the room with women talking about business and how things go, and like just listening to them behind the doors. And I'm like, oh, but also knowing like, wait, hold on. Like, that's not like, how did you guys get that? Like, the patriarchy's not here. It's just matriarchy running the business here. It's not, unless it's me, I'd always ask them like, wait, did I do that? And they'd say, no, And so it's just this super interesting concept when you get around different things. I know I diverged off the 2020, but just this idea about you get ideas in your head. And if you haven't explored them, which is why I think coaching is like the ultimate superpower. So I say, if you don't have a coach going into 2024 and 2025, you are at a serious disadvantage. So if you're a coach, you are selling superpower, like Pac-Man pellets to your clients. Because
I love that. Yeah, it's so true.
I couldn't do that until I had my own coach. And I was like, hey, all this. And I think you remember we were at the mastermind, and I finally asked Brendan a question that I've been holding on to for a couple of years about, hey, how do you go into this commercial space? But someone had said a while back, hey, Mark, like, we're going to ask you, like, as just a man, to step back and create space for people, right? And so that's what I felt a lot of 2020 was. Like, hey, you had your turn, step back, let other voices have a moment. So I was like, sure. But it flipped in me in 2024, right? For a lot of folks. I'm like, because I started noticing in the mastermind and in my clients, they're like, and even Brendan said, he said, hey, I could listen to you talk on anything all day. And I said, that's like, for me, I felt like I got permission again to come back. And it was interesting because a lot of folks are said, oh, I've never seen you so confident. Mark, I've never seen this leadership side of you. And I said, oh, well, it's interesting because that's the default me. That's how most of my peers know me from years back, but not the coaching community, because I've been quiet. And so that's what's driving this for me. Yeah, I was like,
this. I love this so much. One of the new Amanda-isms in 2024 is your progress is found in permission. So it's like when you're not experiencing that progress, it's like, well, where are you withholding permission? Whether it's like permission to speak, permission to act, permission to change, permission to pursue. Like, what is it that you're not feeling a base level of permission? And then like, What needs to happen for you to grant yourself that permission? Because so often we think it's like other people's opinions or other people's, perspectives. And the truth is, like, really, no one's going to grant you permission, right? Like they might grant you encouragement sometimes, but never really the permission until you give that to yourself, right? You're going to stay in this proverbial cage. And I'm so glad to hear that you granted yourself some permission to speak up, because you are brilliant and you do want the best thing for people, and the world is better because you gave yourself permission. That's awesome.
Well, yeah, and I would say to the audience, right? Was that the fourth wall or the third wall? And like to
dear
you, dear listener, you. Yeah, right. Exactly. It's like, hold on, like, come back to us. Whatever you've been doing, get off email, come back and listen. You have permission to do you and to be you and to run the business in the way that you instinctually know to do. That was my breakthrough. And that's the thing that when I've said, other folks, they said, what was your success? Is I said, I did it my way. And I had the most untraditional military career. I had the most untraditional consulting career. I told you, like, I didn't grow up in the normal business. And I always felt like that was a disadvantage. I said that to people. I was like, I always feel different. I'm a lefty, just like you. I was in gifted and talented. And then, like, I was the nerd among nerds. Like, I was even kind of nerdy for them. They were like, whoa,
Whoa, dude.
And then you go like, but that's my superpower.
That's it. And you know what people find to be I have found to be very infectious is confidence. And a lot of confidence does come from permission to love yourself and permission to, like, be cool with who you are. And it kind of teaches other people how to treat you because you're already treating yourself that way. So good. So Mark, sorry.
I was just going to say one last thing on this. And then, because the other key, I think, especially for coaches in your community, is the more you're yourself, the more authentic, and clients understand that. So one of the ways that clients, early coaches, delay their success is in trying to mimic somebody else. And people feel that, which makes enrollment harder, which makes marketing harder. Everything about it is harder because you're playing this method actor. You're trying to be the coach rather than just be you as a coach and let the clients come find you.
Yeah, be you as the coach. I love that. So Mark, what are 3 ways that a coach can not suck?
Yeah, I think we kind of tried to hit a handful of them right here. So the first one is not being you. I think so I'll call it failure. How do you fail as a coach? Right? Yeah. But the first way you do is you build a practice that you don't want by being a coach that you don't want, because that's what you were told success is. And that's whether or not you're a coach or an executive or an entrepreneur. The worst thing you can do is build a life, right, that you don't want. So that's success as a failure. That's the first one.
Right.
The
it's
other
like
area,
your own cage.
Right. And then being resentful that you have this. It's like, well, who gave people permission to control your calendar or to tell you to build your practice? And we go like, oh, I build my practice different than almost everyone I know. And everyone tells me I'm doing it wrong. My bank account tells me something different.
Boom. There it is.
Right. So does my joy. I go like, no, I'm building the way I want to do it on my time.
Well, you're the only one that really has full 360-degree context, So
yeah.
I think whenever somebody looks from the outside, I always try to remind myself of that. I'm like, they see a sliver, right? And maybe they see a bigger piece of the pie. Like, for example, you've been in connection with me for a long time. You've seen like a much bigger piece of the pie as compared to someone who just met me today,
It's still a small piece.
It's still like just a sliver. We're the only ones that get to see the 360.
Yeah. I think the other big area that we shared on, and I said one of the things I really respect about you, is coaches don't put enough energy into their business, into their life. So there's this whole conversation. I don't know who started it, but I love it. Talk about momentum. And it's like, oh, well, I posted every day for a week and, I did this thing for this month. And like, I'm losing weight. Like I ate right today. Right. Well, that's the starting gate. And people think like, oh, I did all this so I deserve a client. No. You just leveled up to the amount of activity that gets the ball rolling. And now it's like, that's you just like, oh, that's my growth. Like, oh, I should be able to do that. Like, I should just be able to write an email every day. I should be able to market, and I should have client calls and do consults. And I shouldn't be like, oh my God, I just ran a marathon. No, of course not. Like, that's the level up. And like, one of the things I know, like, I could just see with you, and that's like 2020 in other areas. It's like, as you did the reps, like, you were like, oh, I can do this and I can do that. And that's what made you like a pro as an entrepreneur. Like, the skills come there. So I think those are the two big things, like building the life that you want and giving enough energy. And the third component, since you said we have to have three, it's still the same thing, is any drama that's in your mind. I call it's just a math problem. You just took the timeline for completion and you brought it too close. Just push it out a little bit. Overwhelmed today, look at the week. Too much in the week, look at the month. Give yourself a year, like the whole decade thing. But like, stress is just a math problem. You've just mentally created some constraint that doesn't exist. It's all made up. So have fun.
I love it. You're making it up. I love it. I love it so much. Mark, how can people follow you? What's the best way?
Well, easiest way is I'm an old school guy. You know, I'm a Gen X. Mark at reynoldscoaching.com. If that's too bold, you can always lurk and leap and just kind of spy on me at either I like LinkedIn or on Instagram at Success Auditor. So that's my handles.
I'm going to include all those links below, dear listener. Thank you so much, Mark.
You're so welcome. It was super fun.
Love it. And listener, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss another episode. And go ahead and share this with like 3 of your friends. I know I've got at least 3 friends that need to hear that your success is really a math problem. So let's get out of the drama and into the math. Like, what do we need to do? And just go ahead and share this with them. Just share it by a link, share it via DM, do it how you share things. And then the last thing is Mark worked really hard to get here to do this thing. He's bringing his best. I think he deserves 5 stars, don't you? And when you leave a 5-star review, it actually helps people decide whether they're going to spend their precious listening time on this episode. We really appreciate every review that we get. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
You're so welcome.